Okay, guys, we are live. Let's talk raw land. I'm your host, Jake Robinson. I've got a special guest here, Willie Goldberg. Say hello, Willie.
How's it going, guys?
So anyway, before we get started, please say hello. Get on the chat box. It's on the chat box. You can enter your questions. If you mark it as a question, it'll pop up and show it as a question, and I'll make sure it gets answered. Otherwise, you guys can chat amongst yourselves, but say hello. Tell us where you're from. And that reminds me, where are you from, Willie?
I am from Chicago.
Is that where you are now?
Yes.
One of the most corrupt cities in the U.S.
That's what we're going for. Yeah.
All right. Well, I just read a headline somewhere. It says that maybe the legislation in Chicago was wanting to segregate Chicago into its own state. Did you hear about that?
I did not hear about that. That's news to me.
You'll be number 51.
I'm not opposed to it.
Okay. There's Daniel from Portland, Oregon. Ben from Austin. He said he just listened to an interview with you on RE Tipster. Were you on RE Tipster?
Yeah, it came out today. It was
really?
Interviewed. Yeah, it was. We interviewed about a month and a half ago. I guess it just came out today. So.
Wow. So you're doing double duty today, man.
Double duty.
So if it'd come out earlier, I might have been able to get a lead on whether or not I should have interviewed you or not.
Yeah. Too late.
No, man, you have a compelling story. People will probably start piling in here. We've got about 7 people in the room. Decent number of people registered. But hey, what we're going to do is we're going to talk a lot about your compelling story, which is a lot about terms deals. But before we do that, can you kind of give me just hey, Jason from Tulsa, can you do me a favor and how did you get in this business and what were you doing? Because you look kind of young to me. I was calling you a whiz kid, and I hope you didn't mind that.
No worries. So I graduated college in 2015. First job out of college was investment banking, and so I did that, and that was kind of where I started my career. I thought from college and even before, I thought that I was going to spend my career doing something in finance, and that's kind of where my passion was. And then I got there, and it wasn't quite as expected. It was a lot more BS than
like office space.
Like office space, more than I wanted to deal with. So I was doing that for a little while. So I jumped around a couple firms. So it was Wells Fargo, and then I went to Jefferies out in Boston. And so while I was there, it was a pretty tough group at a pretty tough bank. And
what is the name of it? Jefferies?
Yeah, Jefferies. They're
never heard of them.
Middle market investment bank. They're actually pretty big, but I was in a tough group, and I was the only analyst, and I was getting a lot of work, a lot more than I wanted. And so I started listening to podcasts and try to figure out kind of a way to get out of banking. And so I started doing that there.
What did you major in college?
I was economics major.
But economics covers a big, broad field. How did that lead you into investment banking? You just think it was glamorous, or are you going to make a lot of money, or what?
So I went to a small liberal arts school, and there's no business major, there's no finance major, there's nothing you could do, and economics was kind of the closest thing that you could get to that kind of thing. So, I mean, I just gravitated towards that, and I knew I wanted to be in finance even before college. So, I mean, that's kind of why I chose that. And then I thought investment banking was, I guess, a lucrative job to get into after college. So, and I knew it would be hard work, but I was a college football player and high school wrestler. And so I was competitive by nature. So I thought I would be a good fit for that kind of industry. So that's kind of how I chose it. But
so you say you're competitive by nature? You like to win?
Definitely competitive guy.
Okay. You like to keep score?
I like to keep score.
Okay. No participation trophies. Okay, good. All right. Hey, Nick from Cave Creek, Arizona, and the other Nick from down in, I guess, Texas way. Okay, go ahead. Sorry about interrupt.
Yeah, no problem. So I was trying to find my way out and try to figure out a way in which I could do something on my own. Found real estate investing, started kind of studying the niches and like what I could potentially do. Ended up buying a condo, renting that out, realized it wasn't scalable, wasn't really even a good investment. And and then kept digging. Found real estate wholesaling.
What did you do with the condo? Did you flip it or what?
No, I still have it. It's rented. I regret buying it, but yeah, I just kind of bought it because I was excited about real estate and wanted to just get my foot in the door somehow. And yeah, so I kept digging, and I found real estate wholesaling because it seemed like a common niche that in a lot of the podcasts I was listening to a lot of Bigger Pockets, and they were discussing how that's a good way to make active income with real estate. So I thought that was the route that I was going to go. I started digging into it pretty deep, and I thought it was going to be a challenge because I was out in Boston, and I knew I was going to ultimately end up in Chicago, or at least I thought I was. And I knew that while I was in my job, I wasn't going to be able to really go on site to houses, go on site to properties and make offers. So I kept digging. And then on one podcast, I heard it was Mark Podolsky on I forget whose podcast it even was, but he was talking about flipping vacant land and talking about 300 to 500% returns, and being a finance guy, that kind of spoke to me, and it seemed like it was a very similar niche, which it definitely is. It's kind of the same concept: sending out direct mail, buying discounted property, and flipping it. So I figured I could do that behind my computer screen, not have to go on site to properties. And
you were still working in finance while you're doing this, is this correct?
Yeah, I was definitely. Yeah, I was still working. And yeah, so I started looking into that, and I started digging deeper, and that's kind of how I got into it.
Okay. So how long when did you find out about Land Academy?
So I'm actually not a Land Academy member, but
you're not?
I'm not, no.
Wow, that's sacrilegious, man. That's blasphemy.
Yeah.
How did I find out about you then?
Well, I found out about you.
That's right. How did you find out about me then?
Someone. So I'm in a group me with a bunch of other land investors, and one of them, I think it was Tim Flood. He said he was coming on.
Yeah.
And he mentioned
he's my first interview.
And so that's how I got on your email list.
So what is this group that you're in? Are you guys like a cabal? You trying to take over and corner the land business?
No, it's just, I don't know. It's just a bunch of land investors in a group me.
How did you guys get together though?
Well, Luke Smith just brought me in. I don't even know how many people are in the group me. I'm not super active by any means. But yeah, there's several.
Luke is a member of Land Academy.
Yeah, he is.
I just assumed you were, man. I'm gonna have to stop the interview right now. I'm sorry.
Yeah, is that how this goes?
Nah, just messing with you. But it sounds like you do a lot of similar things. Do you use any of the Land Academy, like the two-page letter, or do you do something different?
So I do pretty much the same. I send out blind offers. I send out a one-page letter just because it's cheaper. But I mean, I have the same mechanics, same fundamentals of my business.
You mail merge it what's personalized to that particular person's name and address and their parcel, and you're giving them a specific offer for their 5.7 acres or whatever?
Yeah, so it's the same exact concept.
Okay.
From what I do.
So you're just not doing a purchase agreement then. That's what I gather.
No, it's a purchase agreement. It's the same. It's probably the same second page, but I don't do like the cover page that's comes before it.
Now, have you ever done an A/B split test to see if one is better than the other?
No, I haven't. I kind of just. I mean, I started with doing 2 pages, and then I was like, well, I could just reach more people at less cost if I do 1 page. So I just started doing it, and the results didn't I couldn't notice any big change in results. So I just.
So how much money do you save? How much does it cost you to send 2 page versus 1 page?
So I use letterprinting.net, and that is I think they charge me 53 cents per letter, and I think 2 pages around 60 cents. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it is. So I save 7 cents.
Yeah. So how many more mailers can you send out then? You have to run that out.
Probably not that many.
About 10%, so maybe 10% more. Because I think it cost us, if you're a Land Academy member, if I'm not mistaken, I think it's 55 cents or 57. I can't remember, but there is a small fee that gets charged on that, so it probably runs it up about the same, 58, something like that for 2 pages though. So I don't know. I mean, in the big scheme of things, if you're mailing thousands and thousands, I mean, how often do you mail letters?
So each month, it depends on the month, but a few times a month, probably 2, 3 times a month.
And how many do you normally send out?
Depends. Could vary from. So this month I'll probably send out. My goal for this month is just to send out a mailer a week at 1,000 each week.
Okay. Okay. What's the most you've ever sent out on one mailer?
The most probably in one mailer. I don't think I've sent any more than like 3,000 in one mailer. I haven't like done a huge major blast.
But if you did a 3,000 mailer, did you like wait for a while to send out your next one, or did you go right back in and do 1,000 or something behind it?
After that, I probably took a little bit of a breather.
Okay.
Just
'Cause you probably got you probably got a pretty good response from that, right? I mean, you would have
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. So did you? So you never came across Land Academy per se. Maybe you did. You just didn't join. Do you ever come in the forums?
Yeah.
They do have a free forum.
Yeah. No, I've definitely used their forums and try to see what people are asking, questions people are asking. I listen to their podcasts. I listen to. I try to educate myself with as much as I can. So I've with all the gurus out there, I try to take what I can from them and apply it to my business. I just didn't. I'm not a Land Academy member.
All right, so tell me this: what do you think, based on what you know about Land Academy and the fact that you're doing? Are you doing a program that you develop yourself, or are you following some other, guru's game plan, or is it a hybrid?
So it's probably a hybrid of all the gurus. I mean, so I got in the business from Mark Podolsky, and that was the hook that got me. And then I found Land Academy, I found Ari Tipster, and so I try to adopt all three of their philosophies and try to pick parts of that each of them apply to the business and try to make it my own. So I kind of use methodologies that each of them teach.
So what is something you do that's totally different than Land Academy that you think adds an additional dimension, a positive to your business? Anything that you can think of?
So what I picked up from them is the blind offers, doing blind offers. But I don't think there's anything crazy different because I mean, I obviously learned a lot from them. So I wouldn't say there's anything crazy fundamentally different with my business. I guess the one thing that I do maybe do a little bit differently is not necessarily that it's different, but that they don't really focus on is a lot of internet marketing. And
on the sell side?
Yeah, on the sell side.
Okay. I will admit that it sounds like we talk about, have a good acquisition week this week. That's when Stephen signs off on the podcast. So it makes it sound like we spend more time buying properties. And some people in our group, that's what they think of. They think, I don't want to mess with selling. I don't have time to sell. I think Jill brought that to the table for Stephen. But on the other hand, that's kind of a thing that, you could get caught up in buying all the properties, but if you don't figure out how to sell them, you're going to be a big real estate baron sitting on a lot of inventory.
Yeah, so I definitely agree with that. And I think it's way easier to buy property in this business, and it's because all you need to do is just pull on one lever, and that one lever is just sending out more mail. It's a little bit harder to sell property because there's no lever really to pull. You can't really market it in that many more places. You can market on, once you get it on like Lands of America, Land Century, the MLS, and then Facebook, and then there's no additional lever that you can really pull. Maybe you can send out neighbor letters, but at some point you can't really pull any more levers on the sell side. That's kind of how I think about it. And the better you can get, the better you can get at marketing and selling properties, I think the more successful you'll be in the business.
In other words, when you're buying, you've got like one big sword, but when you're selling, you got like a whole bunch of daggers in your quiver. You're throwing daggers, Facebook, Craigslist, whatever. So do you spend more time now sharpening your daggers and figuring out how to each channel that you try to market on internet that you get better at each one, or is it just a matter of get the same listen out there in as many different channels as possible?
So I don't really spend.
Okay, you froze on me. You're gonna have to turn off your Dropbox.
Turn off my Dropbox.
All right.
I could hear you just
What
fine.
happened to you? So looks like we're having a connection problem. I'm gonna give
I
me a
can see
second,
you.
guys. I'm gonna probably have to log back in. All right. Okay. So okay, we can't hear you, and we can't, and you're frozen on screen.
So you
So
want me to get out?
you're going to have to turn off Dropbox, number one,
Okay.
and you're probably going to have to log out and log back
All right. Let me
in
try.
unless you connect pretty soon here because you're okay. So Willie has left the room. While he's gone, who wants to ask some questions and line some questions up for Willie when he gets back in the room? Because I know I got a ton of questions. It's actually, yeah, Sanju, I didn't notice he's pixelated on my end because I think the company actually gives more resources to the administrator, so I probably don't see it, but I can see my screen's lagging just a little bit. Okay, so Willie's coming back on. Let me do something here. I think I've got Google Earth in the background. I'm gonna quit that. Are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me and see me?
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
So I don't know what it was that I caused you to freeze in the like a deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
What was I saying?
I don't even remember.
You're not paying attention to me. My feelings are hurt.
Yeah.
So anyway, here's what I was saying that when you're throwing your daggers,
Oh yeah.
are you trying to sharpen each individual dagger? Like, are you always looking for ways to tweak out how to do Facebook or tweak out how to do a listing in LandWatch, or do you just get the listing out there and just more the merrier and let it ride?
So I don't really, at this point, I'm not really trying to sharpen anything. I use the same sort of approach to each one. I guess the one thing that I'm always sharpening is building my buyers list, and which is my main source of really how I sell property. Is really my email list and people getting viewing my emails, going to my site, and buying property that way. So I'm always trying to build that.
Say that again.
I'm always trying to build my email list as quickly as possible because that for me, that's how I sell property the best.
Your buyers list.
Yeah, my buyers list. So I'm always trying to.
So where do you get these people? Are they people who've bought before? Are they people who are interested in your property but didn't buy? So you say, wait a minute, sign up and I'll maybe send you something down the road.
Yeah, so I capture a lot of emails. So my main way of capturing emails is Facebook. So people reach out to me pretty frequently. I mean, if you post anything, have any experience posting on Facebook Marketplace, you'll get a billion people who reach out with unsolicited or with interest, but they're not actually interested. But they're interested in shopping land. So I don't really, I totally ignore what they say. And the first thing I just ask them is for their email address. So I get quite a few emails.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I get a ton of emails from Facebook. That's really my main source of building my buyers list.
That's a eureka moment for me right now because I did list my property on Facebook. I'm just getting started in the business. I don't know if you know that. I've got 2 properties under my belt that I haven't sold yet. So,
okay.
But I got a ton of responses from Facebook Marketplace, and I haven't even thought about just asking for their email. What I have done though is when somebody says, "Oh, I thought this was in Knoxville and I'm looking for a place over here," or, "Oh, what are the restrictions? Can I put a mobile home on here?" No, you can't. It's in an HOA. But what I am doing is I'm posting a link to my website. It's a private page that you can't find if you're just browsing my page. But if I give you the link, you show up and it's a full-blown perfect property profile survey. And I let them just pick anything that they want, where they want the land, how big they want it, what they want to use it for, what kind of topography and attributes and et cetera, what price range. And I'm building a list. I don't know how successful it's going to be, but at least I'm now I'm finding people that have stuff. I might be able to come to you and say, "Hey, I got this guy that wants this kind of property, and you told me you were, up in Chicago, and they're looking for something in Illinois. What do you have?" And maybe it might generate some there. But as simple as asking for the email could really. How many people will give you an email out of 100 people that inquire on Facebook Messenger?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I'm going to say when someone just says, "Hey, I'm interested in this property, tell me more info," I'll just be like, I'll totally ignore it. I'll be like, what's your email? Let me send you more information. And then I'm going to say I get about half of people
That's
will
not
say
bad.
it's not bad. Yeah. And the
Do
people
you
who
have to go ahead?
don't respond, who ignore what I said, are generally speaking not that great. They're not that interested in the property anyway, because if they were interested in the property, they would give me their email address. So those are
Or
more the
give you a
tire
reason why
kickers.
not?
Yeah, or reply and tell me why not.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. Cool.
so yeah, yeah, I think that's super effective.
So that's a question that Daniel had anyway, are practical things you do to build your buyers list. Have you ever thought about using a chat bot in Facebook?
I have. So my understanding is that like if you want to build something like ManyChat, you
Yep.
need to it needs to be connected to your business page. I have a friend who told me that is incorrect, and he might be working on something soon. Um, and yeah, so I thought about it, but from what I understand, it's not possible to do on your personal page. So like in the marketplace when I'm posting properties, I won't be able to do that, but I'm not 100% sure that's right.
I thought you had to have well, maybe not. I guess you don't have to have a business page to post in Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace. I had a hard time getting Facebook Marketplace set up on the front end until because I was looking for real estate
Yeah,
to sell. And they don't say real estate; it says property for sale. I totally didn't see it. I just assumed they didn't do property. I thought, crap, all they do is hard house goods and rental home rentals. Okay, so I might, but I do have a business page. Why wouldn't you have a business page? By the way, is there a negative to that? Do you
no,
think?
I do have a business page. I just don't. I'm not able to post, for my knowledge, from my business page to straight to marketplace. I could be wrong. But I think you only could post to marketplace using your personal page. So
I
your
don't think that's
personal.
true.
Do you
I don't
post?
think that's true. Yeah, because I did post with my company name is Bye Bye Land, and I started a Bye
Okay.
Bye Land, and yeah, it is coming from there because I thought I couldn't post from my personal.
Yeah. Well,
So
if I could do it on my business page, that's a good next step for me because I spend way too much of my time in Facebook Marketplace replying to these people.
right. Oh yeah, you can automate a lot of that. I mean, I
Yeah.
have in a way because I've come up with these long answers like where's the property located? It doesn't have an address, but there's a house right across the street. So I have this big long. Well, it's unimproved property, so it doesn't have an address yet. But if you put in 200 Davidson Road, blah blah blah, and put in Google Maps, it'll take you straight to the property. It's right
Yeah.
across the street. Blah blah. So I got a bunch of these things that I cut and paste, but I still get tired of doing that.
Yeah.
So Daniel's asking, how does your Facebook marketing work? We're kind of talking about it. Can you expand on it a little bit?
Yeah. So one thing, so I post I have the virtual assistants post in Marketplace whenever they create. Well, I buy a property and then I instruct them to post it everywhere. They post it in Facebook Marketplace, and then people start reaching out. They inquire about a property. They say they're interested, and yeah, then I immediately ask them for their email. They either give it to me or not, and then if they give it to me, I just put that in. I add that to my database. It goes to Mailchimp, and then
Let me
after
ask
that,
this though: do you tell them that, hey, not only am I going to send you some information, I'm probably going to hit you up in the future, or do you include that on your first email?
I don't tell them anything. I just ask them for their email. I tell them I'm going to
Okay,
forward something to them. They don't get anything forward to them, but they get added to my buyers list.
you should really send something to them, man.
I probably should, but um, yeah, I probably could, but
And so,
it takes more time.
so when do you decide to send out an email to all these people who you've been collecting for the last couple of weeks or months, and then all of a sudden you have a brand new property that you acquire? Do you
Yeah.
automatically send it out?
So what happens when they get added to my buyers list? They automatically get they go through my email sequence. There's about 5 emails. They get one each day.
So they
Um,
do get something from you.
yeah. Oh, definitely.
Okay.
So they get one each day for 5 days, and then they're automatically added to my just main list where I send out 2 emails a week. One email is a deal of the week email, and then just an inventory list stating what's for sale on my site, just so they're kind of aware. And yeah, I mean, just building the list gets so many more eyeballs on the inventory that I have for sale. So that's why I think it's more of a numbers game than anything.
How
Is
you
why it's
say
effective.
And you say you get more sales from your list than anywhere else. How many sales do you get from your list? I mean, if you had 10 properties to sell, how many of them would sell off your list?
So I would say, well, the answer is, I mean, they come from some other sources, the leads, but then when they're purchasing from me, it's either a lot of times they found my site because because I got their email and then I followed up with them, so they're going back to my site. So they call me probably like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks after they've been added to my email sequence. And then they say, hey, I've been browsing your site. I've been getting your emails. And so I'm going to buy this property, or they just check out on my website after browsing without even contacting me. So I would say it's above 50% that are
nice.
that I would classify as my buyers list. But that said, those leads came from somewhere else. They either came from Facebook, they came from Land Century, they came from Land and Farm. But I think I've nurtured them over time. They wouldn't have bought from me if they didn't get added to my email sequence.
Right. And you warmed them up.
Yeah, I warmed them up.
And what I would imagine though, this type of marketing you're doing with a list like this didn't develop overnight. I mean, you didn't have like a big inventory of properties to peruse, and maybe your deal of the week is you've only got one deal and you can't do that next week. So did you develop it after you've had a pretty good corral of property in your inventory?
Yeah. So the inventory built up, and then the buyers list is really something that is not an overnight thing. It's really something you got to be consistent with over time. And over time, after you just build it up, it starts to be a lot more effective.
Okay. We're going to cover a lot of this stuff. So Ben, all right, we're going to get your question, Ben, a little bit later. So 400. Okay, good, Nick. You got 480. Okay, I'm just trying to catch up with you guys here. All right, so Willie, be careful of not disclosing that and being added to a list. All right, so he's giving you a warning for be careful of not disclosing that they are being added to a list. It's against the law and not to disclose it. Check out the canned spam law. Are you familiar with that law?
I'm not. I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's actually a thing. If you add somebody to an email list and they didn't opt in, that's why I was wondering if you had contacted them. If they don't opt in, then at that point, if you send them something and they get ticked off, they could technically turn you in, and then you could wind up paying fines and stuff like that. Maybe what is your first? But you send them five different emails as soon
Correct.
as it's auto generated. What's your first email? Is it kind of like introducing yourself and that kind of thing?
Yeah, it just introduces myself. There's a video on the email, just saying welcome to my buyers list, and just explaining my business a little bit.
Have you had anybody ever respond to you and say, "Hey, I didn't ask you to put me on this list," and get mad at you or unsubscribe? I'm sure you get unsubscribes, but has anybody ever voiced that sentiment?
No, I've never gotten like anyone. I'm surprised a little bit because I would expect there to be people who, I think the people that just don't want to be on it just unsubscribe. But I haven't gotten anyone.
Each separate email in violation of Canned Spam Act is subject to penalties up to $42,530. I don't know where they got that fee from, but $42,000 even would be enough to get my attention. Yeah. Anyway, it might be you want to put that on your first email, like, "Hey, thanks for contacting me recently about some land. Even if we can't work something out, I just want to let you know I've got other stuff I'll be sending to you. If you don't want to get it, let me know," or something. I don't know. Yeah. Give them a because MailChimp's going to have an unsubscribe thing on it. I don't really care though. You just keep doing what you're doing, man. That don't bother me at all. Yeah.
Well, I'll keep it in mind. I'll think about it going forward. I'll just give people a tip that they're going to be on my buyers list.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know if that's I'm a risk taker. I got the state law changed in Tennessee for robocalls way long time ago. And, I was using it perfectly legal. Yep. I was trying to recruit people to come work for me in my business. The law said you can't contact anybody with a robocall if you're trying to sell a product or a service or real estate.
Yep.
I was trying to recruit them.
Yep.
It was right about the time they changed the law to do not call list where everybody could get on it. A lot of people did. And I was still calling those people because I don't care. You're not part of the do not call list for what I was doing. It was the law excluded me, but they didn't care. They just complained to the state. The state came and investigated, came to one of my meetings,
Really?
an opportunity. And then he sent me a letter and said, you're being summoned. We're going to put you
the
before
sheriff after you.
No, they were going to put me before a 3-court judge for violating this particular law. And there was a big time fines. And I don't know, might not even been jail time. I don't know. Anyway, me and my national sales director went down to the state of Tennessee, and about 9 of those guys, most of them attorneys, trying to scare me. They were going to extort me. They basically said, this is what could happen to you if we prosecute you, but if you'll pay a $5,000 fine and never do it again, we'll let you go.
Wow.
And at first I accepted that, and then I walked away from it. And on the way down the elevator ride, which was 11 stories, they were up in the penthouse. By the time I got to the bottom floor, my national sales director said, "You really wasn't violating the law, because you were requesting." That's what I've been trying to tell you, Roy. And so he called our compliance department, and our legal team went to their legal team. And the next thing I know, nothing ever happened. Yeah. I never got summoned by the state. I never heard from them. My company never even said anything to me. It just went away. The next year, though, they added a new verbiage to the law, so now you can't use robocalls to buy to sell products, services, real estate, or recruit people.
Really?
So well,
you set the standard. Something you set the standard.
I set a new standard. But anyway, that you can. I was pretty scared during that time frame because I thought, they're going to nail me, but I knew I wasn't violating the law.
Sorry, did you pay the $5,000 fine?
Hell no.
Oh, okay.
No, I didn't pay it. I thought I was going to pay it. My sales director he did all the talking. I was scared to death in that meeting. Yeah. He did all the talking. He's like, he used to be on the radio and everybody knew him, but he was like swagger and whatever. And they were like, well, we could probably accept a $5,000 fee and this will go away. He said, yeah, that sounds pretty good. That'll work. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell? You're not the one stroking the check, Roy. I am. And
so he was trying to scare you.
No, he wasn't. He literally in the ride on the elevator, the light bulb came on. Like, wait a minute, you weren't actually violating the law, and that's a pretty steep fee. No, you're not going to pay that, Jack. I said thank you because I didn't want to pay it either.
Yeah, and
we won that deal, because they were trying to apply a law that doesn't apply to me. I don't like the state. I don't know if I'm kind of like an anarchist, not the kind that throws trash cans through windows and wears black and all that. The voluntarist, like I don't like leaders, I don't like rules, I don't like regulations. But
I feel like that's what you need to be a land investor. I feel like that's a pretty inherent quality of land investors.
Why do you think that?
I don't know. Well, I think everyone who wants to be an entrepreneur is someone who kind of thinks against the system a little bit, at least.
Of course, yeah. You're not like the 80% of the people who decide that somebody else has to plan their life for them. Because if you're not, you work for somebody else, you found out real quick you didn't like it, but you didn't just go off and half cocked. How long did it take you from starting part-time in real estate before you finally pulled the trigger and left the corporate world?
So I sent out my first mailer, end of March, 2017. I put my 2 weeks in, end of May of 2018. So just over a year, about a year and a 2 months.
What did you accomplish in that year part-time?
So in my first year, I flipped 50 deals. I didn't start owner financing until March of 2018. I did one owner finance deal in January, but so you're less than a year doing that then. About a year. Yeah, about a year doing owner finance deals.
So the first 50 you flipped were just buy and sell.
Yeah, but in March I did. That was a good month for me. I think I did like 12 deals, something like that. A lot of those were owner finance. But yeah, most of those were cash, smaller cash deals.
What size properties were you going after when you first got started?
When I first got started, I was buying, what was I buying back then? I was still buying out in SoCal, but I was buying elsewhere. I was probably buying, on average, buying 2, selling 6, 7. So reasonably small. I still buy a little bit in that range, but not. I've definitely gotten bigger.
What size
since then.
properties are you looking at now?
So I still do. I mean, I do buy in that range, but I also buy properties that are 10, 15,000 dollar range. I've sent out a bunch of mailers recently to buy properties that are 10, 15, 20,000 dollar range.
What
Um,
size though, as far as
oh,
acres, does
acreage.
that matter?
It doesn't. Yeah, I try to buy 5 acres at minimum. That's not true. Going forward, I'm trying to buy larger acreage. Um, but I mean, I've bought properties ranging from 1 acre to I try to buy over an acre at least. But I would say my sweet spot has been 5 acres ish. But I'll buy
Okay.
2.5 acres to 5 acres, 10 acres, 20 acres.
Now you're saying you want to scale, or you want to go like 15, 20, 30, what? Does it matter?
So I'm trying to do bigger dollar volume properties. So I'm trying to buy in more expensive counties rather than necessarily bigger acreage.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm trying to do less deals. So I'm not running around with my head cut off, talking to a million people. But I think I'm just trying to do maybe the same amount of deals with just bigger deals, and scale that way rather than scale by doing more properties.
Well, Nick is asking, Willie, do you sell with seller finance and carry a note? Guys, you must have not have saw the registration page, because I said this guy has created over 26,000, somewhere around $26,000 of monthly income from your term deals, right? And about 115 notes or something like along that lines in the corral.
Yeah, so I probably have 27,000 a month on my personal business. Then I do some partner deals, so I've probably got another 2,000 coming in from partner deals. So
wow! But on your own dime, 27,000. So that covers that pretty much covers your overhead and your living expenses, right?
a little bit, yeah. It does okay, yeah.
Now what? No, tell me this though. From a guy that came out of college and getting beat down as a financial analyst in the analyst department, where you had a big wig broker saying, "Hey kid, I need to know what this stock's doing. Give me some information on it." Is that how it worked?
More, I don't know. It was, yeah, kind of. It was that kind of culture, yeah, definitely.
Or were they calling you up saying, "Where is my what's the office space report, the TSP report, or
They're more
TPS
asking
report?"
for like, yeah, pitch books and I don't know, dumb stuff.
So back then, were you like rolling in the dough?
When I was doing that,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it paid well. Yeah, it paid well,
Okay.
but I didn't. I pretty much hated the jobs I had.
But it didn't pay as well as you're getting paid right now.
Correct.
So what's it like having 25 grand plus coming in your house or through your business? Is that pretty sweet?
Yeah. I mean, I check my phone every day, and there's different people paying me money. So, yeah, it's definitely different. It definitely feels good to have control over kind of what I'm doing.
Now,
And
how much of that money do you funnel back in the business, or do you pay yourself a salary? Is there a certain amount of money, or do you have a toy you want to get? You decide to pull the trigger, or what?
no, my philosophy is that if I have money in my bank account, I need to either send out more mail and just buy more property. And so I'm trying to minimize the amount of. So all pretty much my funds are tied up in either like land that's currently for sale that I currently marketed, or it's in receivables. And if it's not in either of those, I just send out more mail to buy more property. Because I don't want to see money in my bank account, because that means it's just not being used to the best that it can be.
Right. So what about, there's a philosophy of, and I've said this a couple of different times on different webinars, but you should think of in terms of starve your personal life and feed your business life. In other words, don't go fancy when you start making money and buying Lambos.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. What's your philosophy on your personal lifestyle?
Yeah, so I'm definitely more of I'm kind of a cheap bastard, I would say. I don't spend a lot of money. I try to save as much as I can.
I noticed you're wearing a T-shirt with no collar, but
yeah, I didn't want to buy it. I'm just kidding.
Just messing with you. But I just think it's awesome, dude, because I mean, to think how much you've already accomplished, and you did 50. Wait a minute. How many deals did you do when you did part-time? You said about 50 deals during that first year part-time. Is that right?
Yeah, then a little.
That'd be like one a week.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Okay.
It
somebody
picked up towards the end, but
yeah, Daniel had. Let's see. Let me find that. I'm going to broadcast this right here. This is Brian sent this in on the survey. By the way, guys, when you register for the webinar, you can take the survey. I always take the survey if you don't mind and give me some feedback. And there's also a question that you can ask a guest or question. So Brian from the terrainproject.com, where did he get his funds for these acquisitions? Was he using his own money, private money, partners, or loans, lines of credit? When you first got it started, did you have money to put out here, or did you have to start small like some people do and scale up and reinvest?
So I when I started, I had 1 year of investment banking, and so I had a pretty good bonus from that. And I didn't have time to go out. I didn't have time to really do anything, and they like pretty much paid for all my meals and my like taxis. So I literally didn't spend like any money during my first year after college. So I just used my bonus and my savings and just invested that. And then, like right after that is when I kind of got started. And so I threw like 50 grand into a bank account, and that was my acquisition budget. So
you worked for a year and starved your personal life, saved that money, and got your business started.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's not bad.
Pretty much.
Then are you doing the same thing now? So everything's coming from that 50. He's wanting to know, you mentioned some partner deals. Do you fund other people, or people help funding you, or is it joint ventures? How does that work?
So I have a few people. I've got 3 people who have funded deals, and two of them are doing, or one of them's done. He's actually a buddy of mine while we were working. He's funded probably like, I want to say somewhere between 10 and 15 deals, and we split profits on those. But yeah,
is it kind of like the way they did on LA on Deal Tank?
Yeah,
where he funds it 100%.
So I'll find the deals. He's just a money partner. He still works in finance, and he just has some extra money he wants to put to work. So that's worked out well. I find the deals, he funds them. We split profits. Actively looking for more investors so I could continue sending out more mail and buying more property, because I think that's really the part that's the only. I mean, this business is infinitely scalable in my view. I mean, the amount of time I spend on a deal between sending out mail, buying it, and then selling it is like, it's never more than a couple hours, really. So it's only limited by really the funds that you can use to purchase property. So I figure the more capital I can raise going forward is kind of where I'm going to go with this, and see what can happen. So
you're open to doing maybe like a Deal Tank thing, where you find a big expensive property, maybe go to Deal Tank, let them fund it for you, or something similar to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you go from flipping properties to deciding, wow, I want about 115 properties paying me a monthly income? That's a different change. That's like a whole different business model in a way.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw one guy. I don't know. There's just one investor. I can't even remember who it was. But then I just kept looking at his listings, and he offers owner finance options. And I was just thinking that I knew my buyers would really love it if they could just click on a button on my site and just check out with the credit card. So I kind of had like a moment where I was like, well, why don't I just try it? And then I thought, like, all right. So then it started working for a little bit. And then I thought, well, I think I could sell these a lot faster if I can, if I just offer terms on all my properties. So that I just started offering terms on all of them. And then they just started selling. And then I thought, well, if I could just keep selling them as fast as I am on owner financing, and I could just spend all my money buying property, and I could get this portfolio, I can just take on some leverage and continue buying more property and just finance pretty much the receivables. Because if I get, say I have like 27,000 right now, I could feel comfortable taking on some leverage, given that I have that much coming in. So that's, when
you say leverage, like go to the bank or go somewhere and borrow some money?
Yeah, so I've gone to the bank, and then I've got advice on other funding sources. So I'm weighing the option between either raising capital for equity on these deals, or getting leverage from a bank or financial institution.
So, but when you say leverage, does that even mean like maybe like using a credit card and cash advancing, or what?
No. I think the plan is to get, if I do go that route, it's going to be more traditional bank financing or something like that.
So where do you feel like you are right now? Do you feel like you're tapped out capital wise? Like you got it all out there and you got to wait for something to sell to do the next one? Or because see, that's a double-edged sword. If you ever listen to Casual Fridays podcast, with Adam and Justin, Yeah, that's their big, that's their big running gag. Is Adam is all about notes, and Justin's all about flipping. And Justin's like, yeah, you got to flip properties, man, because you don't have any money. You got all these notes out there. How are you going to buy your next one? So there's
Yeah.
always that. Does that affect you?
Yeah, it definitely does. So cash flow is running thin. I actually did. So I had my dad lend me. He lent me like 20 grand. I paid him back since then because I closed some cash deals. But now I'm back at the point where I've got a few more deals in front of me. So I'm getting to near that point where I'm either going to need to partner on deals or take out some leverage. But I think going forward, I'm going to keep my terms business. So I have, which is pretty much my California business. And then I'm going to start doing some larger dollar properties, larger acreage elsewhere. And I'm not going to do any like small down payments on those. I'm only going to accept like large down payments or cash deals for that, just so I can kind of manage the cash flow in my business a little bit better.
Let's talk about the terms then. So let's say you buy a property for $5,000 and it's worth 20 grand. Are you going to try to get a $5,000 down payment so you got all your money back, or what? How do you determine how much down that you'll take versus what you've paid for a property?
Yeah. So for the larger property, so if I bought a property for $5,000, I would probably ask for a little bit more than a few $100s down. So I'd probably ask for like 20% down on something I paid $5,000, it's worth 20. I'll probably ask for 10% down on that. So I'd probably ask like $2,000 down on if I'm asking 20 grand on the purchase. But generally, if it's like $3,000, I don't know. I'll probably offer, if it's $3,000, I'm selling for 15, which is a pretty common deal, or I'm selling for like 18 on terms. I'll probably be more flexible and take like $300 down plus $250 doc fee, and then $300 a month. My goal generally with the terms is to get my money back within 8 months. 8 months is kind of the break even. And I'm not
so
offering.
No matter how, so you can slice and dice it between down payment and payment as long as you get your money back in 8 months. Okay, that's smart. Do you feel like there's a subset of buyers that if you get too high on the down payment, you're going to run off your buyers? Is there a sweet spot there?
So I haven't really tested it. I probably should test it a little bit more, but I mean, it seems like from what my experience talking with these buyers is they have like, I mean, there's a lot of them who have like $500 at a time, but they're really running paycheck to paycheck. So they can't really afford that much more. So in order to like convenience them,
right.
I just want to get them under contract pretty much. If they're renting a property for me and they like pay like 6-8 months and then they stop paying, I mean, that's fine. I'll rent my properties all day. But I would prefer that they continue to pay because then I have to find another buyer. But if they want to rent it for 6-8 months, I'm fine with that. I mean, that's kind of the mindset that I think about it with, because I'm getting most of my money back. And I mean, I get I'll just resell it at the same price that it was at before.
What do you know what your default rate is? Do you know how many people bug out after a while?
Let me look. I've had, let's see here, sold properties, default. So I've had 11 people defaults. So I had a few of those were pretty recent. 11 have defaulted, and I've got, like I said, around 120 total, if you include the partner deal. So it's the rate of default. I mean, I would
it's less than 10%.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of the people who are still paying haven't paid off yet, so they could still default. But I mean,
well, yeah, that's true. But in the big scheme of things, most of them are keeping, is what it sounds like.
Yeah. Most of the people. So I'm at a point now where I have a lot of people who are beyond 6-8 months in payments. So those people are going to likely pay off, I would assume. I mean, I haven't gone. One thing is that I try to limit the length of the term. So I'm not doing 10-year notes. I'm not really doing like 7-year notes even. The average length of my terms is 32 months. So I keep it actually really short relative to maybe some of the other note buyers or like seller finance guys. So I'm thinking that the people who pay 6-8 months they've already paid a large portion of the total payment. And so I think those people are going to be much less likely to default, given
they can see the horizon.
Yeah. So it's not like they still got 15, 20 years or even 10 years or even 7 years of payments,
Okay.
they've only got like 2 more years. So
Okay.
I try to keep the horizon short for that reason.
Have you ever refunded somebody because they bailed for, some kind of particular reason?
So in my contracts that I use, I make it pretty clear that once they sign the contract, there's no refunds, no one gets their money back. And I mean, I had one guy who did request his money back, and I just gave it to him because I don't want the last thing I want is people to charge back their credit card on me, because that's a lot more valuable. Yeah, that's a lot more valuable to me than refunding $500 or whatever. So, I mean, to be honest, if people ask me to refund their money, I'm going to refund their money. It's in my policy that I will not be refunding their money. And
But they have to ask, though.
Yeah, they have to ask, and I make it clear on the front end that there's going to be no refunds if they stop paying.
Have you ever given somebody like a buy month or a couple months off, and they just need to get back on their feet?
No, definitely. I deal with buyers all. This is part of the terms business that I really don't enjoy. I mean, there's constantly some people who are late month after month after month, and if they're good people and they're communicating with me, and they're saying, "Hey, I'm in this tough situation. Could you please help me out? Just bear with me. I'll get you paid." Yeah, I'm obviously going to help them. I'm not gonna take back their property if they're constantly communicating with me.
So really, you're a cheap bastard. You're just not a heartless bastard.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna screw someone over who's been making payments, who lives on the property. And
that's good for you, man. It's good ethics. I mean, that's karma, man. It's going to come back, and those kind of people might be really loyal, and they may be referring business to you. So one of the questions I had on terms deals is, well, it just went right out of my head. Can't think of it. Dadgummit, it was a good question too. All right, so in the meantime, we'll veer off course just a second here, and we'll come back on term deals. But Ben's asking, Willie, are you an RE Tipster paid member? I almost joined a couple of years ago, but joined LA instead.
I am not, but I've actually I'm familiar with what Seth offers, and I know his program is very detailed, and he does a lot of good work. So I would definitely recommend. I do think RE Tipster is a really good program. So I would definitely recommend.
Well, he used to be a member of Land Academy himself. I know he's talked about, and I know they interviewed him. Okay, so back to the terms deals, because that's your bailiwick. What do you do about people who? Have you ever had a situation where, when you sell a property on terms, do you allow them to do anything, improvements to the property? I mean, what if they want to move their RV on there, or put a mobile home or something?
Yeah,
is that off limit?
Once they sign, so I send them the two documents that I give them as the purchase agreement, which is land contract and a promissory note. Once they sign those, in those agreements, it states that they could use the property and do whatever they want with it. So yeah, they can move on it. They can put their RV on it. They could start building. They'd have to request.
Okay, but what is your stance on if they bail out on you, and let's say they abandon a crappy old, mobile home that's dilapidated? Do you just have to deal with it?
Yeah, I think so. I haven't had any crazy situations where someone's bailed and they've left trash or an abandoned mobile home like that. So that hasn't happened to me yet. But if it does happen, I guess it's a cost of doing business. And I mean, if they do improve the property, I honestly don't know that it's necessarily a bad thing if they leave something on it, because I think that makes it a little bit more unique.
If they build a cabin or build a shed or something like that, do you let them know that if you build something and then you bail, can't take it with you, or do you care? They can let them tear it down if they want to.
They could tear it down. I mean, as long as they're not trashing the property. But in the agreements that they sign, it states that any improvements that they make on the properties that they're buying, that if they default, any and all improvements stay with the property, and they do not have any claim to anything, pretty much.
So basically, you're making people go outside that contract and come back to you and say, yeah, I know that, you said, but and you're talking about permanent property, not a RV or mobile home that can be wheeled out, right? Because that's not, you're talking about a cabin or a house or a et cetera. Okay. Here's the question I had a while ago. Doing term deals, and especially if you sell them on the internet, is one of the biggest problems is taking a payment on credit cards, because most credit card companies, if they know you are financing real estate, will shut your ass down and cancel your contract. Who do you do your who's processing your credit card payments?
So it is currently Stripe. That said,
Okay.
I talked to David Van Steenkist. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. Who is
Van
very
Stinkus?
he's some I think he's Land Academy guy. But he was
Okay.
I
I won't
talked to
make fun
him.
of his name then.
Yeah, he was convincing me to go the GeekPay route, and so that is actually, it seems like from what he was saying. So I was talking to him because I was concerned about getting kicked off Stripe, and he was kind of convincing me that even if I wasn't kicked off Stripe, that going with Heartland on the front, like on the interface, and then GeekPay to do the terms, it's still a better system than what Stripe has to offer.
Better system in that it flows better, or it costs less, or both.
Well, I think GeekPay is actually supposedly, from what he's saying, is really good. And from what I bought it, and I'm looking at it, and it looks pretty good. In terms of like it's pretty easy to use from the user's perspective, and they can pay off loans early, and you can add amounts for servicing fees, which is just something I haven't been doing, which I should be doing. And ACH is cheaper than credit card, so it seems like in every single way it's better.
Oh, you're telling me that? So you're telling me that Heartland and Geek Pay is ACH, not credit card processing.
So Heartland is the credit card processor that approves real estate transactions. So you can use them on your website. So when you check out and buy a property, you can check out using their processor. And then once they check out, they don't do recurring payments, or maybe I think they set it up, but once they submit the payment,
for like the down payment.
Yeah, submit the down payment. You can he said he has his virtual assistants gather information from the buyer, including like bank account information and credit card information, and then they charge ACH. I guess GeekPay does. I think they use like Actum or something to charge ACH to do recurring payments, and ACH is cheaper than credit card, which is, I'm all credit card right now, so I'm paying 3%. I'm not sure what ACH is. I think it's a lot lower.
Yeah, it is.
And then there's other features that you can add servicing fees with GeekPay, which is huge, because you could get extra like $20 per payment per person, which is a lot of money over time. And then what else is there? And then and then buyers can pay off property early, depending on what interest rate you have set, but they can pay more towards their principal over time, which improves cash flow. Pretty.
So you allow them to pay. So
yeah.
Do you think that having an interest rate versus not? I was talking about this with Adam and Justin on their two different interviews, and Adam likes to just do like, here's the total payment, and Justin likes to say, well, here's the payment, here's the doc fee, here's the processing fee, here's the your mouth is sideways fee, and here's the interest rate, but Adam says at the end of the day, it's both about the same amount of money.
Yeah.
It's just one. His idea is the perception is, hey, here's the money. This is what your payment is. And Justin's like, I'm going to do all of this. But he had a good point. He says the reason I put an interest rate on it is that if I ever want to sell it, like a discounted note, the interest rate makes a difference. I'm like, well, if it's the same amount of money and the same amount of payments, why does it matter? But evidently it matters to some other companies that might want to buy it. On the other hand, I kind of like the way Adam does, which is I don't really want to add a bunch of fees and stuff to make people feel like crap. There's a late fee and a this fee and a that fee. I just want to, here's the payment. But you're saying, though, with the interest rate, there's a psychological benefit that some people like, I want to pay against the principal and pay this down sooner. So you may wind up getting extra principal payments and more money back quicker.
Yeah, I think you definitely will.
But you don't know that for sure because you haven't started doing that yet, right?
So I don't know that for sure because I haven't done it, but I know for sure because I've had experience working with buyers who say they want to pay off property early, and I know that if they were given the opportunity to pay off more and it was an easier process and less manual, they would definitely do it. But
you do it now, but you do it manually?
I do, yeah. So I do, I guess, more of the um, I'm more of the simplistic route where I just charge a total amount. I don't have any of the fancy fees or the interest rate. I do 0% interest, and it's just like a button on my website that's buy now or buy on terms, and here are the terms: X down X month for this many months.
No interest.
No
I mean,
interest.
that might be a selling feature that people are pulling through. Hey, I don't have to pay any interest.
Yeah, yeah.
No
So
credit
it definitely
checks.
is. It definitely is. I think it's just different philosophies and way to do it. I don't know which one is necessarily better. I agree with Justin that if you are trying to sell the note buyer is going to want to know the interest rate and take a percentage of or make a percentage offer on the principal. So the interest rate does matter a lot for that, because you do need a principal amount in order to determine what the discount is going to be on the note. So if you have that in mind that you're going to be selling a note, you might need to include that on the.
But I don't know why you couldn't impute the interest rate. I mean, if I know you're paying this, I know over a period of time, and you're going to pay it off early, you can impute an interest rate,
Yeah,
a discount. A discount. Use that financial services stuff you learned in college to figure that
yeah.
out. So, when you buy a property up front, do you know up front? Do you have an attitude of I'm going to buy this property to sell it on terms, or I'm going to buy this property just to flip it, or do you just do all of them on notes now?
So I offer owner financing on all the properties. I know which ones I'm gonna take a larger down payment. I'm not gonna accept a larger down payment on, and I know which ones are gonna be. I mean, like low per month, and they're gonna sell that way. Yeah, it depends. If it's gonna be a nicer property, more expensive property, it's not gonna be one of the ones where I'm offering $200 down or $250 down, $250 a month. It's gonna be one where it's gonna be a few thousand down, and then I'll probably still do a few hundred a month, but it depends on really the quality and the price of the property for me.
What's the highest payment that you typically would charge on the monthly payment?
So I think 600 a month is the biggest that I have, and I've got
And
one.
why is it so big?
It's
That
just
one.
because I want to keep the total payments to be under 60 periods. So I don't want any loan that's over 5 years. And so for some that's like a little bit higher down, or I guess if I'm offering 10% down and it's a more expensive property, um, 600 a month is kind of it needs to be in order for it not to be a super 7-10 year loan.
Okay.
Just because it's a more expensive property.
Okay. And so, do you do like a triplicate of choice, as we used to say? And I'm in financial services too, by the way.
Okay.
But where you offer an A, B, C, like here's a low down payment, higher payment. Here's a higher down payment, a little bit less payment, and have three different options to lure them in.
I don't do that, but I do think that it would be smart if I do that. Maybe I'm just lazy. I haven't done it, but I think it could make a lot of sense.
Well, that brings me to another question though about being lazy. How intensive on the management side is it for you to keep up with 115 notes, and how many people are paying, and when they're paying them? Are they paying all on the same day of the month? And how do you juggle all that?
So it is a pain in the butt, to be honest, starting to manage these people. And I mean, they're all good people, but it's starting to take a little bit more of a toll on my time. During tax
Do you
time,
do it all yourself?
so now my virtual assistant handles some of it. I'm going to give her more of it. And I don't spend that. So like there are times of the year. So tax time is a time when people are always asking me questions and trying to get their taxes paid. And then things just come up over time. So at this point, I am responding to inquiries that come up from these buyers. And the biggest pain in the butt is which I'm going to be outsourcing in the next week is my goal, at least, to start managing the late payments on these and having someone automatically follow up and email and call and text these people who are constantly who are late, so I don't have to do that anymore. Right now, that does take up a little bit of time. I only do it twice a week right now. Wednesdays and Sundays just happen when I do it. So to be honest, it takes a good amount of time. It probably takes, I would say, at least a few hours a week, 3 to 5 hours a week of my time is probably
To
spent
collect your
dealing.
$25,000, man, that is such a tough job to have right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
When you say it like that, it doesn't sound like a big deal, but I'm sure it becomes almost a constant
I,
part in your life that you've got to dedicate that when you could be
yeah,
dedicating to
I take
sending
it
out
back.
more mailers.
I don't think it takes 3 to 5 hours. It probably takes me not even 2 hours because the only
Okay.
time, so they either are reaching out because they need to make a payment or do something, or and that doesn't happen very frequently. Most people just pay on time, and they just get charged automatically. The only thing that takes time is calling the late people and texting the late people, which I only do twice a week, and it probably takes me 15 minutes each time. And then um,
The
the
other
rest
time
of
you're just looking at your phone when it
yeah, and
notifies you
they
that you got a
there's
payment. What do
yeah.
you get? How are you getting? How are you getting notified on the phone? You say you get notified on the phone when somebody sends you money.
No, just email. I get like Moon Clerk
Is it
notifications.
automatic generated email that such and such paid and made a payment? Who does that?
Yeah. So once any payment comes through, I just get a notification saying this
From
person
from from Square. What is
Stripe
it?
Stripe.
Stripe.
I
From,
guess it's Moon Clerk is their front end, which sends
okay.
out. Yeah. So I get
And
their email.
have you ever checked to see is Moonstripe or Stripe themselves, are they hating on real estate and they just don't know that you're doing it?
I don't really know. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me how they haven't like audited me or like audited other land investors who use Stripe. I don't really know. Maybe it's because I
Or-
haven't gotten complaints,
right.
and that they're
Because as
like,
soon as you get a
okay,
complaint, they'll probably shut you down, wouldn't they?
yeah. I don't really know. I'm just preparing. I'm transitioning in the next few weeks.
Right.
Is the plan to get this completely transitioned in the next month, really? So I don't even have to worry about that.
You're just in
Um,
denial.
I'm in denial right now.
Still waiting to. Ben is saying, Willie, how heavily do you outsource VA tools like Pat Live or individual VAs? Because you just mentioned VAs, so it's a good time to answer this question.
Yeah, so I outsource definitely a lot to VAs. So I outsource. I would say property diligence, property postings. Um, I'm starting to outsource more in terms of client relations with the VAs, and that's more of the goal. Who are like current buyers, like terms buyers, outsource any communication with them to my VAs. Anything administrative, anything in terms of tracking. So,
And
like,
how do they interact with your clients? How does your client know to call them? Or you have a phone line that goes to them, or
so currently, it's the only thing they've really done is just pay the taxes for my terms buyers because I told them I don't want to deal with it. Just send it to my assistant. She's been handling that. So I'm
you pay
going
the
through.
taxes, right?
Well, the terms buyers pay their taxes, or they're supposed to. But then I tell them if they don't want to pay them, they could reach out to my assistant. She'll help them. But um,
I
so
mean,
I'm
that's part of the contract. You pay the real estate taxes.
no. Oh no, they pay them while
That's
they're
what I'm
making
saying.
payment. Oh
That's what I'm
yeah, yeah.
saying. The contract is you make your payment plus you got to pay the annual taxes.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. So you don't give them the deed though, right?
No, they don't get a deed. No, they just
Okay.
get the contracts. Nothing gets recorded.
Okay. Okay. And that because I mean I'm open to that, but let me ask you this question: the end of the world's coming in 12 years, according to Alexandria Taser, whatever her name is,
Who?
AOC,
I don't know.
the young Congress lady that says that we've got 12 years, the Earth's going to
She
blow
doesn't know
up
what
in
she's talking
12 years.
about.
Well, yeah, but assuming she gets lucky and rolls the dice and
Yeah.
throws a seven, and a zombie apocalypse comes, and we have like a meltdown. The dollar gets disconnected from it gets disconnected from crude oil, and we don't no longer have a petrodollar, and we become a third world country. What happens if all these people go belly up on you? Do you ever worry about a really bad market downturn like we had in '08, where it could cause people to default at a higher level than your? Does it bother you at all?
No, not really. So I mean, like I said, I've got a good amount coming in. It like my expenses are pretty low, like pretty damn low.
Okay,
I
let's
don't.
say 50% default rate then, buddy.
Yeah, full 50%. I'm still more than fine. I'm not. So I guess the biggest thing with this niche is that no one is levered. We're not. Well, at least I'm not currently levered. Most people are not levered.
Would you
And
explain that to the average folks out there?
So,
Levered
so
meaning
we don't have debt that we're using to buy these properties. So we're like, if
we
you're
don't
buying
have mortgages.
we don't have mortgages. We don't have, like commercial loans on
It's free and
properties.
clear. Yeah.
So it's free and clear. We're not fixed. We don't have to pay fixed interest and principal
So guess
payments.
what would happen if half of your buyers bellied up? You still have the same amount of parcel. You still own all of the real estate.
Yeah, my net worth
turn
goes
around
up.
And resell it.
Yeah,
You could resell it for a lower rate.
I'm still chilling. There's nothing's gonna happen. I'm just hanging out.
So that's the beauty of buying land. Because let's say you own 115 houses right now, rental houses, and you had, mortgages on them, and of course they're paying your mortgage, and you've got a positive cash flow. And I guess a positive cash flow is an extra $100 to a couple $100 per property. Would be considered okay, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So $100, so it's like an alligator. It's like $100 alligator. One way, $100 on the plus side, and you're in big money.
Yeah.
But if it swings $100 the other way, you're up to your eyeballs in alligators, and you're about to lose your ass, and you're going to go bankrupt, which is what happened to Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
When he went bankrupt, that's exactly what happened. So there is a big advantage of being in land versus buying more traditional assets in real estate, I think.
Yeah, I think it's got to be one of the least risky niches in real estate, period. I mean, I think wholesaling houses where you don't actually buy anything is the only thing that's like less risky, but still land is like got to be up there with the least risky.
Somebody did ask that question. I don't see it right off the bat. Do you do wholesale? Here it is. Daniel asked that. Do you do wholesale deals ever?
So I've wholesaled. I've wholesaled a couple of lots. I was trying to downsize my inventory because I had like 55 properties at one point, like a month ago. Yeah.
Wow. How many of those is that on top of your notes, or is that part of your notes?
No, that's just my current inventory, so that's on top of the notes.
Holy
that's what I'm trying
Toledo.
to tell. Yeah, I mean, I buy like desert property. So, I mean, they're not like super expensive. I mean, they're all like, most of them are under 10 grand.
Okay. So, and you try to do a few of those wholesale. So you bought them super low, and you just turn them to another investor? How do you determine what the wholesale price should be?
So I just looked at a list of mine, and I was like, where am I heavy in inventory, and like which markets, where could I dump property? So I pretty much created a list, and then I marked it up on average 25%, and they were still, all the properties were still like the
super
person who's
low.
Yes. I mean, the person
a lot of meat
buying it from me is going to double their money at least.
A lot of meat on the bone.
My experience. Okay. Yeah.
Where do you buy property? Do you mind sharing, or is that top secret?
No, I buy, so I've buy in Southern California, and then starting more in New Mexico, and now I'm buying more elsewhere, just like variety of different places.
Like
where
what?
I've been staying. So I'm buying property in Pinal County, Arizona, and then I've got a couple mailers out in Colorado. My bread and butter where I started, it just happened to be where I started. I don't necessarily think it's a better market than anywhere else. It's just where I started building my buyers list was Southern California. So I just picked LA County, San Bernardino County, Kern County. That's where I got started.
Is it because they do have desert properties there?
That's part of it. I think it just literally happened to be where I bought property and I sold property, and then I started building a buyer's list. So I was like, all right, well, I'm already here, so let's just keep going.
Got to keep it up. So does your buyer's list tend to be very geographical? In other words, your buyers tend to live close to where you're selling, or does that always happen?
So I think the reason why my email marketing is successful and my marketing is successful is because my buyer's list is all generally in that geographic area of there. And then I've got some northern New Mexico properties. So I just keep inventory of those areas on my website, and people kind of shop around once they get my emails there because they've already been shopping in those areas.
Okay. I'm going to go back to the VA question real quick. How did your VAs, are they real people here? Are they like in the Philippines, or where do you get your VAs?
They are real people, but they're in the Philippines. So I've got one VA who manages like all the tasks, or I send all the tasks to her, and then she delegates to, I think, one or two other VAs. And they probably, I think they bill me 25 hours a week on average, just managing various tasks.
And does that really take a load off of you based on that 25
Oh yeah.
hours?
Oh yeah. I couldn't be anywhere close to where I am if I didn't have their support. So I mean,
when did you make that switch to when you were doing everything yourself to you hired somebody to do something? What was the first task that you hired out?
First task that I heard out was definitely property listings. I can't stand building property listings.
And what do you have in a property listing? I mean, even if you don't like doing it, what do you know needs to be done for it to be done right?
It needs to have pictures. It's got to have a price, APN. I don't really put that much info in my listings. GPS coordinates is maybe the biggest thing because on my website, people could click on them and they could get driving directions to the property. But I don't put anything like special in them. Just like
so you don't do drone videos and
no, my all my videos are since I run a business that's intended to scale. So I don't do any even pictures. It's just all Google Earth. Whatever the VAs do, they handle everything. I don't even look at the listings once they do them. To be honest, they just kind of put them out there, and I'm like, I trust them enough to where I know.
Do you monitor days on market at all to determine if there's a stinker or why something's not selling compared to the rest? Or
it's generally market specific from my experience. I'm familiar with the properties or the markets in the counties that will sell property fast, and then I tend to buy in those areas. And I've only had a problem with inventory in areas where I haven't bought property before, where I don't have a buyer's list. That's only been if I have a buyer's list. So if I buy a property in Southern California, because my buyer's list is so big, those properties are going to sell. I'm not worried about those at all. It's when I buy property in a new area that I don't know the days on market very well. That's the only time I have really an issue with inventory management.
So, for example, you've moved to Colorado, which is a newer area for you. How did you determine how to, because pricing is going to be different, isn't it? The price of a new market like that?
Yeah. So that's kind of going towards the new business I'm going to be working in, and that's going to be less reliant on a buyer's list and more reliant on, or more focused on buying just larger properties and higher priced properties. So I don't know exactly how that's going to turn out. I honestly just chose Colorado because I think it's a beautiful state, and I just wanted to experiment with new markets, and we'll see how it turns out. I chose actually counties based on I kind of spied on some other land investors, see where they're having success, and then I looked at what counties they were buying in. So I looked at some. I'm not going to name which investors, but I definitely peeked at some people and saw what counties they were buying in, and I was like, well, if they're selling property there, I could probably do just as well. So decided to choose those markets based on them.
Have you ever experienced competition, like people saying, "Oh, I just got a letter from somebody else this week," or "This is the 7th letter I've received in the last 2 months"? Do you ever feel that there's competition where you are and other people messing around where you're? I mean, I know there is, but do you ever get any feedback that there is?
Yeah, all the time. So San Bernardino County is got to be one of the most mailed counties out there. So people are always saying when I'm on the phone with them that they get these letters. One thing that they do say though, so is I guess one thing, you shouldn't overestimate the competition, because literally whenever I talk to someone, and I'm always, whenever someone sends me a letter or calls me, I call them back, or I'm going to get on the phone with them if I'm interested in the property or not, because if I'm not interested, I'm going to renegotiate at a lower price. So I'm going to get some sort of offer in there regardless, and I'm going to talk to them. And what they tell me is if they get offers on, I mean, they do tell me all the time that they get offers from other land investors. Their letter looks the same as mine. Why are you guys interested? And I guess I asked them, well, if you're getting these many offers, why are you not calling them? It's why are you calling me to sell your property? And they always say that none of the other investors answered their calls or responded to their letters. So there's a ton of people sending out mail to all these counties. I'm not worried about competition whatsoever. I'm just going to send out more mail than the competition, and I'm going to be more diligent, and I'm going to get on the phone with people, and I'm going to buy property. And I don't think I'm ever going to have any issue with there being competition, just because, I mean, if you just hustle, you're going to win some deals.
So you take your own calls. You don't do Pat Live or some other answering service?
No, I take all my calls. Maybe I could outsource it, but in my view, talking to buyers and sellers is literally the only thing. It's where you add value, and I mean, that's where you make your money, is talking to buyers, talking to sellers. So that's going to be the last thing that I outsource, and I've pretty much managed to outsource almost everything.
I feel the same way. I love the phone. I think when you hunker down with someone, you can discover additional opportunities that may not have been there if you had somebody else answering the phone for you.
Yeah,
especially
no,
a VA.
agree.
Do you get your share of hate calls? I'm sure.
Yeah, I get people tell me to do things all the time.
What's the worst thing somebody tried to tell you to do?
I probably can't say it on here, but I've been told a few things. I've definitely.
Well, I had a guy tell me I should have my testicles removed, but he didn't say it quite that way. But
he told you. Sorry, say it again. He told you what?
I should have my testicles removed, but he said it in a little bit more flagrant way. Yeah. And anyway, I don't mind the hate calls. I can get around those as long as I get some calls where people are wanting to buy. But they send you letter. How many calls do you get that wind up being an acquisition for you versus how many people just sign the purchase agreement and send it back? I've not got one yet.
You've not gotten one that someone just.
Well, I've not got one letter that somebody sent back that was serious. I've got a letter that said, signed, "Are you on crack?" That was his name.
Yeah.
Are you smoking crack? That was his name. But I've never got one that says, "I'm buying I want to sell my property at this price. Here's my purchase." Now I've only sent out 4,000 letters so far, so you know.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's a volume thing. They'll come in. I get signed letters all the time. I would say it's more common over the phone, but I haven't kept track of data on that. But I mean, I get signed letters all the time.
Okay, cool. So when you're figuring out your terms kind of deals, how do you see yourself scaling the business? You said you want to go to more expensive properties. Can you get to the point, because this is something that Adam brought up to me, is that there's only at a certain level of a property, let's say something that's $30,000, you could probably still sell it for terms because the people can afford the payment and the down payment. But if you get to like a $90,000 property, then the terms become maybe unmanageable. Maybe they can't afford to. Do you ever see yourself delineating your business where you're going to do what can be done as terms and then flip the rest because they're just way more expensive?
Yes. I mean, that's kind of what I'm experiencing now for the properties that are like over 25 grand. Buyers tend to want to do a little bit more cash when it's more expensive for whatever reason. And I think once I get to start doing more higher end, I think it's going to, I mean, that's part of the reason why I'm doing that, is to improve the cash flow situation in my business, because I think a lot of those buyers are going to be more cash and higher down payments.
Now you said you use a lot of different channels, but I would think that more expensive properties would be an MLS property. You did mention you use MLS. Do you use Congress or some other flat rate, or do you use an agent?
Yeah, so I've used Congress a number of times. I use HomeCoin. HomeCoin is great for if you have property in California. HomeCoin is like $99, so I use that a ton. And then what's that other one? There's Broker Direct MLS, which is Continental.
That's
the one. I've used them in a couple of deals.
Have you had any success with them? Because I had 0 calls back on. I got a property on market now for 45 days or so.
Yeah,
not one call through them. Now, maybe I'm overpricing it. I don't know.
I've had success with them. I get emails, calls from brokers, from all the MLS, the flat fee.
I might just have a sucky property.
Yeah,
maybe with me forever.
Yeah, I think you bought a property at retail. You're trying to double it at retail, maybe.
Well, no, I bought it for $4,000, but
okay.
I had three different agents tell me not to list it for less than $25,000. I listed for $17,900. I mean, that's close to retail, but it still should be below it based on their wise counsel, unless they're just dumbasses.
Yeah.
One guy said, "I'd do it for 30, 35. It'll sell before the end of the summer for sure."
That's what the realtor said?
Yeah. This isn't a it's in a lake community. It's like where people go to build summer homes or vacation homes or lake homes, that kind of thing. It's kind of like a summer community.
Okay.
And of course, we're just now starting to get our spring over here, so maybe the market will heat
It's
up.
going to start picking up.
But I have been offered 10 grand for it, so I was offered 2.5 times.
You said no?
Yeah, I did say no. Yeah, I did say no. I think I'm being greedy.
Yeah.
It must be. Maybe I'm greedy. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, he did. I probably could sell it to him for 10. I think the guy would buy it for 10 all day long. But anyway,
have you been getting leads elsewhere?
Marketplace, I've been getting a ton of lookers, but again, you're right. I don't know if they're just if it was not in an HOA, I could have sold that thing 20 times by now.
Oh, it's an HOA.
It is an HOA.
How much are the HOA fees a year?
$257 a year.
Okay, that's not really
or something
anything
like that.
to worry about.
No, I can eat that for a while. But I think I could sell it on terms if I decided to put it out on terms. So I'm not concerned. I'm just trying to figure out how things work, and you just don't know. And I'm like the MLS broker direct. Those guys, I mean, I don't like their phone system. Their phone system, and when you call it, you have to walk through like the first generation robot voicemail system, and I don't want my buyers to hear something like, "Are you a buyer or a renter?" And if you're a seller or a whatever, an agent, I'm like, "What? What? I thought I was going to buy. I thought I was trying to find out about this property right here."
Yeah. Did you try like Congress or something?
I have not. I have not tried Congress, but I am going to look at that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. What do you do? Do you use like the $99 on the front end and then like $250 on the back end, or do you just pay it all up front?
I did that all up front. I paid they had a special on. I paid $245. They gave you a sign, and they pushed it out to like all the different websites.
Okay.
Trulia and Zillow, and also, but my listing showed up on LandWatch. I have to pay extra for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, LandWatch costs something, right? 30 or 40, $50 or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And so it supposedly goes out and it goes out through the IDX, which pushes it out to all the big brokers. So Keller Williams, Coldwell Bankers, and all those guys are going to have it on their site too. So it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just probably mispriced.
No, it is helpful. Yeah.
So you have pretty good luck with. So why do you hate listings? If you can go to a discount broker like that pushes your listing out to everywhere except for Craigslist and Facebook, why do you have to worry about putting the listings out anywhere else if the MLS listing company will do it for you?
So I guess,
or is that what's happening?
No, well, I guess that happens on some of them, but I mean, I also post on Land Century. If they post it on Lands of America, I mean, it's all the same. So, I mean, the VAs just push it everywhere, and then wherever the MLS listing also posts it is great. So maybe there will be duplicate on like Lands of America, but I mean, I don't worry about it at all just because I'm not doing any of that anymore. So it occupies none of my time.
How much does it cost you do you pay for marketing? Like besides, I mean, if you add the MLS listing, if you add any paid sites that you put your stuff on, how much do you wind up spending on a monthly basis on that kind of stuff?
Let me see. I got my expenses here. So let's see. Land Century I've got is $99 a month. And that's like 50 listings, up to 50 listings. So Land Century is actually pretty helpful. And then, I'm spending a decent amount on MLS just because I'm starting to put more properties on there. And then I've got lands.com is $360 a month. I do the premium for like 30 listings. And from feedback, I've been talking to some other land investors. I'm in a mastermind, and they kind of explain that they're just doing the regular lands.com stuff, and it's just working just fine for them. And I'm not getting superb results by any means using like the premium listings. So I think I'm going to hike that down a little bit.
Roll that
back.
So how'd you wind up in? Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah, I don't think I use any other paid places. I'm trying to think. I used to post on Rural Vacant Land. I was working with Luke. Luke's a great guy. And I just decided I wanted to use my own lands.com account. So I don't no longer use that. And then,
By the way,
sorry.
Go
I
ahead.
used to, yeah, I used to use land flip. Don't no longer use that just because I didn't find it that effective.
By the way, if you want to post your link to your website in the chat room, folks go take a look at it. You might find some folks that you never know, might be some buyers out there. Um, so we had talked before we got on the air. You were showing me your spreadsheet of how you track your business. I
Yeah,
found that intriguing, and you said you got the cat daddy of spreadsheets. You want to share that with us and show us what you're doing?
yeah, that's totally fine. Let's see, share screen. Let's see. You guys see my screen?
Yeah, it's coming through.
Yeah, so this is my CRM. I mean, this is how I just track everything. One page is just like my to-do list. I'm pretty organized in terms of what I'm doing on a daily basis and kind of track what time I'm going to be doing things. And then this is really my main spreadsheet, where I just have everything. So these are my partner deals. These are my deals that I have under my LLC, my name. So I've got a lot of properties in Southern California market at the moment.
So you're calling this your tracker, right?
This is my tracker.
So you got the county seller name, you got
Yeah. So I mean, stuff
what
I
is
track
your
seller name.
so what does good and closed mean? Do you
So
I can't
whenever I buy a property, I need to make sure I'm checking the taxes, checking if there's liens on the property. So all
okay.
these are good. I've checked all. I mean, this is just how I remember if I've checked these kind of things.
Okay.
This just means has the property closed? Do I need to worry about it? Is the deed coming back to me? Has it been recorded? Have I received the deed? Did I buy it with title? And just make sure everything is getting transferred properly because I mean, owning this many properties can be a total mess if you're not tracking this information. And like you're sitting out there and, oh crap, the county hasn't recorded this stuff. Why is it not my name yet? So I'm just trying to make sure that everything is tracked for taxes.
So you're looking at column G, you're looking for the ones that you see title closed, but you hadn't received the deed. You're looking for received deed. That's your final step.
So if it's title closed, I'm comfortable that the title is going to transfer properly.
Okay.
So I'm not. This is just kind of my check. Has the property changed hands from the county?
Do you do any self closing?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
So that's why I have these columns here: taxes, liens, because I'm checking these taxes. I'm checking the liens. The county, the title company's not doing it. I'm checking has it closed. So that's really what these three columns are for self closing.
And do you have like a third party company that does the notary signature and all that kind of stuff?
I use 123 Notary.
And how does? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just find them on there in the seller's local area.
Okay.
And I use them. I send everything to them.
Have you ever had a situation where the buyers got a little flaky because the notary didn't really understand what's going on and bailed out on a deal?
Yeah, I've had buyers back out because they were just confused, but it doesn't happen that often.
Okay. And so, how do you keep track of all that? I know this says tracker, but yeah. I guess you when you start with just a few properties, I guess as it builds up, you can get a gauge on. I mean, you got a bunch of links over there. What are the links to?
These are your listing. This is just to make sure everything's posted everywhere. So this is the VAs go in and do this.
So they come in and they actually post to this spreadsheet. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I actually don't let them touch the spreadsheet, but they post. I make a copy of it and send it to them, and I just add it in here. But this is just in order to make sure that I know that everything's posted, because otherwise things can get when you house this much inventory, things can get to be quite a bit of a mess. So if I'm not like right now, I know this property is someone defaulted on this one, so that's why it's not posted anywhere. But if I didn't have this tracker right here, if I didn't have these links posted here, I wouldn't know that, oh crap, I need next week when I do the weekly refresh, the VAs need to post this property on these sites and then give me the link, so I know that everything's posted, and so I don't have inventory that's like sitting longer than it needs to be.
So besides it, just you knowing it, if you hired me to take over and I see this blank, how would I know that it's defaulted? Do you just know that from your own personal knowledge, or do you got something that?
So these are my current inventory. So it used to be down here. These are my owner finance lots. So these are everything here is the owner finance properties I have. So I have 111 currently
Well, wait a
in my
minute.
name.
Right now, we're seeing your original page of your to-do list.
Oh, really?
That's what's on screen. Yeah.
I think it must have froze. Let me stop sharing.
Okay. So you got the little drop-down boxes on this week. Is
Am I
that so
back?
you can? You're back. Yeah.
Okay,
You want to try to go back in?
sure.
Now you also mentioned to me that you're doing. Are you doing some? Are you doing some consulting and coaching for other investors?
Yeah, so I started doing that a couple weeks ago. So I've got currently have 4 coaching clients, and looking to get probably 1 to 2 more on that end. But then I don't think I want to spend any more time doing one-on-one coaching. So I'm going to look to probably do some group coaching, but that's kind of the next step for me. Um, but yeah, I'm currently doing some one-on-one coaching, and yeah, just trying to fill 1 or 2 more spots on that.
So if I became your student, what would you be teaching me, and how would we work together?
So pretty much, I mean, I would teach you, I guess, everything that I'm going through. I mean, all the systems in my business and kind of how I think about sending out mail, closing properties, marketing and selling properties, how building a buyer's list. I kind of share everything that I do, and I would advise on. Um, I mean, pretty much advise on whether or not you should do deals and what you should be focusing on at whatever stage of the business you are in, and kind of setting KPIs and just strategizing and setting goals for you over the course of, I don't know, 6 months, 12 months, whatever, wherever you want to go. And I guess my focus with my clients is getting them ramped up, because in the beginning, it can take a while to get ramped up. And when you, especially when you don't know what you're doing, you're not confident enough, you don't know what deals you should be buying.
Right.
So the way I think about the business is, it's really all a return on the assets that you have, because that's all it is. You're buying property, you're selling it for 3 to 5 times, and the more property under management that you have that you're selling it 3 to 5 times, the more money you're going to make. So the question in the eyes of the beginner is, I don't really know what I'm doing, and I don't trust the process enough. So I'm kind of expediting that path of growth for them.
Okay.
And so that's kind of what I'm looking to do.
That makes sense. Now we're back on the spreadsheet.
Yep.
We're on the tracker spot
Yep.
part now. What else you got? What are some of the other?
So I mean, this is just how I track all my terms, guys. So over here, I mean, you guys are just curious. These are the due dates. I mean, this is
I'm
make
not.
sure everything's.
Yeah, it's not changing though.
No, is it still on the to-do page?
Yeah, it's on the tracker page now. And in fact, I don't see the bottom tabs, so I don't see.
Okay. Do you see me like moving around with the mouse or with the?
Yeah, I have seen the mouse move. It's in a sign of a cross, or
Do you see like the column that I just highlighted?
no, I do not.
Okay. Yeah, maybe I should
I'm not
just.
seeing that.
Maybe it's just
Okay.
not working.
All right. Well, let's catch up on some of the questions. So, Nick, we kind of covered this partially, but he did ask another question that's like a follow-up question on, if you let somebody build something on your property, do they need to file additional paperwork with the county to allow them to pull building permits or anything like that?
Yeah. So if they're trying to get permits, I've had a number of different situations where they've had to come up with some paperwork that they've sent me that I just had to sign off on. It's never really a big deal.
Okay.
It just gives them like the ability to improve the property while they're making payments. It doesn't. Yeah, the vast majority of people aren't trying to improve the property and actually build, but there are definitely some people who do want to do it. And I mean, I just try to accommodate them the best I can.
Do you ever use attorneys to close instead of a title company? And Daniel's asking, how do you go about finding a good attorney? Do you have multiple for different states or counties?
So I don't use lawyers to close. I've only used title companies.
Okay.
I mean, I have an attorney in California who, like, I work with, but he doesn't help me with any of the transactions. It's usually just title companies.
How do you find title companies then? How do you go about choosing a good title company?
So at this point, I know the title companies that are in the areas where I buy mostly, but generally, if I don't, then I'll reach out to a realtor. Realtors are helpful for a variety of reasons, and that's kind of one of them. If I'll try to find a recommendation from some of the local realtors who they used in the
Okay.
past. So you could go to Zillow and look at land for sale, and you could find a realtor that's listing a bunch of properties in the area. Give them a call. They should be able to assist with that.
Okay. Marilyn is asking, how do you determine the due date of their payment? If you make a sale on the 20th of the month, for instance, when would you set up their payment, their first payment?
So for the way I do it, I just keep it on the 20th. So when they check out of my site, there's a button that says buy on terms. They click buy on terms. They check out with a credit card. And once they check out, it sets up automatic recurring payments for the 20th. Or 15th, today's the 15th, so they'll automatically get charged the next 15th and the 15th after that and the 15th after that. And all the paperwork in the purchase agreement, the promissory note, the land contract, everything is set up.
It's going to be the same.
Yeah, it's all going to be set up on the 15th. And
okay, sure. Okay, cool. Marilyn also asked, what do you say when? Wow, we must be getting a laggy connection. What do you say when they ask you, how did you come up with that price?
When a seller asks me?
Yeah, when you're buying their property.
So the way I do it, I do a little dance around it, but I pretty much say I look at comps in the area, and we deduct what it would cost for a seller to hire a notary and for a seller to use a title company. And after deducting deducting those costs from what the comps suggest, then that's kind of where we sit. Okay. Obviously, it's kind of it's not really accurate, but I don't know. Right. That's a decent way to answer it.
Ben is asking, do you have an LLC? Is it registered as a foreign entity in California?
So I have an Illinois limited liability company. And I don't think it's registered as a foreign entity. I just, on my deeds, it's WG Lands LLC, an Illinois limited liability company.
And have you done anything like additional entity structuring where you might use additional LLCs inside of other LLCs and all that? There's a lot of complicated stuff that you can do to bulletproof yourself against, a potential liability.
Yeah, I met with a lawyer. I met with a lawyer a couple of weeks ago, and he was telling me that if I really, really wanted to limit my risks, then I could get a holding company LLC and hold each of my properties in a different LLC, which for our business makes no sense in my view. I guess I could do an LLC in for each state that I buy property in. He was saying that as well, but I don't do any of that funny business. I just kind of have one LLC where I own my property.
Well, there is something to it. There's a company out there. His name is Coons. I think I can't remember his first name. Anyway, I've talked about him in the past, and the guy's got like a 1 hour video. When you get done watching a video, you're like, oh crap, I need to get some more of these LLCs, because the way he does entity structure, not just LLCs but corporations and how they interact with each other, he sets you up where you're bulletproof from being sued and somebody decides to sue you for a liability claim and then going after everything you own because you've got deep pockets or you've got lots of assets. So anyway, okay, so Dan, I think Donna just asked a question here. Donna's saying, is there any type of deed you stay away from? Good question.
No, not really. I'll take in treasurer's deeds. I'll take in quitclaim deeds, grant deeds, warranty deeds, special warranty deeds. I'm not too worried about it as long as the owner of the property that I'm buying is the person I'm talking to on the phone, and everyone is signing who's on the previous deed. I'm totally fine with it. I'm not sketched out at all. If I plan to sell with title insurance, then it might raise an issue. But generally, if I'm buying without title, I'm not going to be selling with title. So I'm not really worried about it.
And is there a limit where you pull the trigger and say, yep, we're going to do a title close on this one with insurance?
Yeah. Anything. I've bought property at like $6,500. I don't think I've ever bought anything more than $6,500 without title. Actually, yeah, I have. I bought like $7,500, but it was a couple of different properties. But yeah, generally think around, if it's 5,000 to 7,000, I'm gonna weigh it based on if I'm gonna be selling it with title or not. But I'll generally use title in that range.
That's Clint Coons. Thanks, Nick. Clint Coons is the guy I was talking about. That guy, dude, is fascinating. If you go put his name in YouTube, he's got a couple of really good instructional videos on how to bulletproof yourself on different things like
Clint
that.
Clint Coons?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the guy's name.
I'll have to take a look at him.
And he's part of a larger outfit. They got a whole office full of attorneys. That's all they do is land, doing entity structuring for people who own businesses and assets to make them bulletproof.
Okay.
So, what's a question that I haven't asked you about your business or how you do things that I should have asked you that you're thinking, man, this is something I would like to talk about?
Something you haven't asked. I feel like you've asked a lot of good questions.
Well, I have been pummeling you now for about an hour 45. So this is about when we start running out of steam, about this time. But a lot of good stuff comes after that first hour because I just keep on digging.
Yeah, you kept digging.
Yeah. So what's your secret weapon? Give me a secret weapon or a hack that you figured out that you don't think anybody else is doing. And keep in mind, 80% of the people that you tell them about it they're not going to do it anyway.
Well, the hack, I would say, so video is definitely been super helpful. Because
do you do your own video?
So I do video. If you go to my website, there's a bunch of videos. So when you go to my website, beginning, there's a video just explaining who I am, what I do. And then on my about page, there's a couple of videos, and I have a video on the how it works page, just explaining everything. And I do YouTube videos each week, just promoting a property. I send that video to my buyers list, and I think it's super, super helpful. Are these screenshot videos where you're just voicing over and showing Google Earth photos and stuff like that, or what? Yeah. But I find it super helpful because whenever someone calls me and I know they're on my email list or they've interacted with my website in some way because they know who I am, they recognize that I'm the person in the videos, and it adds a lot of trust. Just keep being on video, and
it builds a familiarity. It's almost like a celebrity, or you're.
Yeah, because I mean the biggest objection that I really get is that, like, what the hell are you doing in Chicago? You own these properties in California. You have no office here. Like, where's your office? Let's meet. I want to give you a bag full of cash.
So how do you deal with that?
So I just send them a link. I'll like ask. Before I answer, I'll be like, "What's your email?" And I'll add to my buyers list. And then after they give me their email, I'll be like, "All right, here, check this link out. This is the process, how it works. My assistant does all the paperwork, and we'll get it to you within 1 business day if you buy in terms, 2 business days if you pay cash. We'll get the deed sent to you." And I mean, they see the video of me doing it and builds credibility when I say I've done 150 deals in the last year. Been doing this for several years. I have however many references you need. And I think people just, it adds a lot of trust when people can see you on TV.
If you offer references, anybody ever take you up on that?
Yeah, it's kind of annoying because at least to the buyers that I give out, very, very frequently people.
But you've got buyers. You've got buyers that have agreed to let potential buyers call them to quiz them about whether or not this is for real. Is that what happens? Well,
I mean, I just give them buyers who've recently bought from me in the past.
Oh, you don't get permission from them?
No, they bought from me.
Okay, what law is he violating now, guys? Somebody post that up there. So they don't get upset at you, like, what the hell are you giving out my name and number for?
They're like, great, thank you. Yeah, I'm very happy with this purchase. So it's the least I could do.
You're lucky, dude, because there's going to be some guy out there that's going to be like, you just violated the HIPAA law and just disclosed my private name and number in business.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's pretty funny, but it makes sense though. I mean, if you did a good job for somebody. So all right. So let's see. How would someone reach out to you about coaching?
So you can message me on Facebook, Willie Goldberg, or you can message me at Willie at wglands.com, waltergeorgelands.com. I'll just put an email in there. My
Okay.
email.
There's a sticky message up there. You can do that if you want to. Do you have access to the sticky
Add
message?
sticky. Set sticky message.
Yeah. So you just
Let's
post
see.
it in there, and it'll stay at the top there. All right. Thanks for that question, Ben. Chuck is asking, how much time do you spend on mailers?
On mailers, so
On pricing your mailers, sorry.
pricing them, not more than 20 minutes.
Is that
I
just
mean,
because you work the same area so much, you just know what the prices are?
well, in the 3 counties where I've just is my bread and butter, I don't even look at comps anymore.
You make the comps. You're the
Yeah,
comp maker.
I'm the comp guy.
You're the comp king.
Yeah, I'm the comp king. But otherwise, I don't spend a lot of time on it. I'm of the philosophy that you just got to get mail out there. People are going to call you back, and you can renegotiate if you have to. If it's a good property, you revisit the comps when the property comes in. And yeah, I'm of the philosophy that it is literally marketing. By sending out the offer, you just need to get it in the ballpark. When it comes back in, you renegotiate if you have to. Otherwise, just leave it where it is.
So how much more of your business do you think you can automate using technology, VAs, and that sort of thing? And what will you always probably keep on your plate?
So I am looking to automate everything besides sending out mail and talking to buyers and sellers.
Okay.
So everything outside of that, I'm looking to automate. And I guess ultimately, maybe a couple years down the line, I will automate the talking to buyers and sellers. But at the moment, that's like what I consider to be crucial part of my business, and I wouldn't be nearly as successful as I am if I didn't talk to buyers and sellers.
Well, can you kind of give me an idea, maybe an example of something that happened in a conversation that led to a close or led to another opportunity or avoided a problem or what?
Yeah, I mean, when I talk to sellers all the time, I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to think.
You just know how to hunker down with them.
I think it's underrated building rapport with sellers, because if you build rapport with sellers, like, it's part of your negotiating techniques. If you're like talking to them and you're building rapport with them, then you're gonna and then you throw out a low offer, they're more likely to accept it rather than if they talk to
third party.
Yeah, so that's what I would say. I really, the most important, like the highest dollar per hour task you could do in this business is buying property. And I think talking to sellers is a very, very crucial part in negotiating if you have to renegotiate on a deal. So I think spending time with sellers is an underrated aspect of the business, because I do think that buying the property, even though it doesn't take that much effort, is where you really build equity and you make your money on the buy. So I would outsource talking to buyers before sellers, I think.
Well, I would say this too, that professional sales is undersold, because amateurs and high pressure people give professional salespeople a bad name. Professional salespeople help you come to an agreement and a product or a service that's beneficial to you. They help you make a good decision, is what they're doing. And they help overcome the hurdles, which are maybe called objections. But on the other hand, nobody wants to do business with somebody they don't like. If they don't like you, they don't want to do business with you. If you tick them off or whatever. So if you can build rapport and hunker down with them, that's the way we say down here in the South, then they get to the point where they almost feel like they want to do business with you because they do like you. And they're like, well, okay. And I think talking to buyers gives you that opportunity to build something in common. And do you look for something in common? Do you small talk with them to find out if there's anything in common with them, or do you got to get to the point?
With buyers, I probably should more than I do, but not that much. I mean, if they're talking, like if they're about to get ready to buy property, they're more a serious buyer, then I'll spend more time with them on the phone. But generally speaking, I try to filter and get off the phone with them if I think that they're in the early stages of buying, because you could definitely waste a lot of time talking with them.
So how do you discern that when you're talking to a potential seller?
Well, you could kind of tell. You mean buyer?
I mean, a buyer. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you could kind of tell based on what the kind of questions they're asking. If they're asking like, what properties do you have in Kern County? Then I know, like, all right, well, I'm not going to help you for at least a couple
Well,
weeks.
so they're looking for when they say, "Does this property let me do this?" Is that
Yeah,
when you think they're a little bit more serious?
yeah. Well, if they say, well, I just went to check out this property, I just want to verify what's the tax, what are the taxes on this, and then I'm going to go check out, and then I'll be willing to spend more time with them on the phone because it seems like they're ready, more closer to a purchase decision.
All right. When you're talking to sellers, on the other hand, how do you how do you do your due diligence? I mean, you've made an offer, but then when somebody sends a letter back or calls you, what are the steps you take to determine? Okay, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and buy that property. I'm gonna buy it at the price I offered, or is there something you see that you do your due diligence that you still want the property, but not at that price, and you're willing to do something lower? How do you negotiate that?
Really, I pull it up on like what Agent Pro or whatever. I just check, see does the property have, I mean, road access? Does it have any utilities up to it? If it doesn't have, I mean, pretty much if the property has a county maintained road up to it, I'm not going to renegotiate because hopefully on the front end, I priced it reasonably accurate to like if it has a county road, it's going to be a good price and I'll make money on it. If it doesn't have a county maintained road, if it doesn't have utilities, then I'm almost certainly going to renegotiate. And I'll probably come down to probably like 60% of what I offered. And a surprising amount are understanding and are willing to accept those offers. But it really comes down to access and utilities.
Okay. What about landlocked properties? You ever fool with them?
Yeah, I mean, if I offered like 15 grand at a property, I'd be like, yeah, I could buy it, but I can only pay you 3 grand. And if they say yes, then we got a deal. But otherwise, I'm not going to fool around with property. That's
And if
like,
it's landlocked, do you not fool with trying to get access? You just turn around and sell it as a landlocked property and just make your money and let somebody else fool with it?
yeah, I don't want to get in the weeds. My business model is to scale and to do volume, not to get in the weeds. And it's just buy and sell. That's
So
kind of how I think about it.
so based on what you're doing now, how will you scale? Send out more letters and take more phone calls? Do you ever get to the point where you can't do any more because you're sending and on the phone nonstop?
No, not at all. Like I don't even spend that much time anymore, like buying and selling. I mean, that's why I've been doing a little coaching and trying to get into that path is because I have more time in my hands. I'm only limited by my capital, and so I mean, the more, yeah, I mean, I could send out 10,000 units a month and probably still be fine because I got the systems in place with VAs on the back end where they handle everything. So I'm not.
Would you scale the VAs? In other words, would you, if you do more volume, you just maybe add a few more VAs to handle the?
Yeah, I think more than anything, I'm just going to scale by doing higher dollar properties rather than more volume, because I think it's just an easier way to scale, and not have the operational complexity of adding more VAs and more parts of the business to deal with because I've already got so many parts to deal with managing over 100 terms buyers. So I'm just going forward, I'm just going to be doing higher dollar deals and minimize
More flips,
yeah,
less.
yeah,
Because if you do higher dollar deals, it might get pricey to sell it on terms
yeah.
versus flipping them for. So your rate of return may not be as high, but your dollar return goes up. Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, that's the goal. That's where I think I'm headed towards.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. And then when you're, I have one other question for you, and we're going to wind it down here. I think we're running out of steam. We're pulling up on 2 hours. And I appreciate all you guys out there that's contributed with your questions. And by the way, guys, please spread the word to your friends and other investors out there. Get them in here. The more people we have in here, the more the word gets out. We can get some quality guests like Willie here that really brings us. I don't know if you guys got anything good out of this interview tonight. I certainly did. Great information. I learned quite a bit. I want to talk to you after the thing is over, so don't go away when we
Okay.
turn this thing off.
No problem.
But anyway, I had one more line of questioning for you, and again, it shot out of my head because they're going in different directions. You talked about scaling, and Marilyn says, "Awesome, thank you, Marilyn. I appreciate you guys out there because I was just telling somebody today that even if I have a front row seat to all these great guests and I can learn on my own, it's really not any fun unless we've got a bunch of people in here with me. So I appreciate you guys coming back, and plus you'll get a replay link. So if you guys need to take a second look and do that. All right. So Donna says she's excited for your new higher price strategy. Go for it. Okay, you go for it too, Donna. You guys, maybe you can take some of this stuff and get your business going. But is there anything else you want to say before we wrap up shop here?
I don't think so. Not really. I think we've kind of discussed everything, or pretty detailed aspects of my business. So, but yeah, I do appreciate you having me here.
Well, Willie, eventually I'll probably do like a round robin where I'll bring a panel discussion on, like 4 or 5 guests that's been on before. So I hope you'll keep that in mind and maybe come back and be on a panel discussion. We'll have several investors. We'll fight it out with what's the best strategy, and maybe we'll learn something that way. I do appreciate by the way, yeah, Ben is asking, am I going to have Joe Martin on as a guest? Joe had some unpleasant news about a health issue with a member of his family. So Joe is supposed to come on this coming Monday, the 20th, and he has begged off. We're going to reschedule, but I've got another guy coming that's got a great story to tell too. And so you guys will get that invitation, and we'll have another fellow coming on, Adam Harrison, and he's doing a bang up job out there. He's done quite a bit of property. But man, I really want to thank you, Willie, for coming on. Thanks for your great story. Thanks for being so open and willing to share your a lot of people look at their top secret county list. They don't want nobody to know.
Yeah.
The bottom line is there's just enough out there for everybody, at least right now in the land business. I don't see it saturating anytime soon, because most of the real estate people, when you tell them you're doing land, are like, what?
Yeah.
They scrunch their nose up at you.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the competition.
So, well, hey guys, next week, same time, same place. Thanks for being on. Thanks, Willie. We'll see you guys out there. Please go out and share the link on the replay link. Maybe post it on Facebook if you got other investors that you hang out with and different groups. Let them know about the Let's Talk Raw Land webinar, and we'll see you next week. See you guys later. Cheers.